Hello everyone. Adolescence, a period of transition between childhood and adulthood, is one of the most challenging phases of life. It includes some big changes to the body and to the way a young person relates to the world. Our topic of presentation today, analyzing the factors impacting suicidal behavior in American youth, looks at high schoolers. This work has been performed by data jockeys, namely Maunika, Nitesh, Venkat, and myself Aslisha. Here is a brief outline. I'll begin with the introduction and give you a brief overview of the data. Nitesh will be presenting our analysis and he'll be closing the presentation with few recommendations. But before going into the details, here is a small disclaimer. This presentation addresses sensitive topics that may make some people feel uncomfortable. Viewer discretion is advised. Let me begin with a quote from Sam Finch, a suicide survivor. Imagine a scale being tipped back and forth until one side is finally outweighed by the other. A trigger, a moment of impulsivity, a window of opportunity that disrupts the precarious balance that allowed us to survive. That, ladies and gentlemen, is suicide. Suicidal thoughts are like snowball that turn into an avalanche that can wipe out anyone. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among youth aged 12 to 19 in United States. In 2017 alone, nearly 6,000 teens have parted ways with their loved ones and left the world by committing suicides. The adolescent mind is very delicate. In today's world, where technology plays a key role in our day-to-day life and people live their life on social media, unfortunately, there are more ways in which one can hurt themselves, including games such as rumored Blue Whale Challenge, where people are challenged and encouraged to commit suicide. With this study, we would like to help understand and identify the factors that are influencing these suicidal tendencies and hopefully contribute our share to the society in reducing them. Data used in this analysis was provided by Center for Disease Control and Prevention as a part of their initiative Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The CDC conducts a survey on high school kids grades 9 to 12 biennially since 1990. It has 99 questions and the latest data available on CDC website was of the year 2017. 144 school districts participated in the 2017 survey and nearly 15,000 survey responses ranging from demographics, drug and tobacco consumption, alcohol use to sexual activity have been captured. There were missing values in the data due to non-responses. These missing values have been imputed using survey impute procedure in SAS, which uses hot dip imputation. In an attempt to capture the information from multiple variables into a single variable for the ease of analysis, 4 new dichotomous variables have been created. One such feature that was created was bullying, which indicates if a person was bullied at school or online. The second feature that was created was abuse of narcotics, which indicates the usage of non-recreational drugs. The third feature was sexual minorities, which indicates if a person identified as LGBTQ. The fourth feature was suicidal attempts, which tells if a person had attempted suicide or not. A trend analysis of the suicidal risk behaviors has showed a statistically significant increase in the following. A significant increase in the number of teens who claim to have suffered depression. A significant increase in the number of teens who seriously considered suicide. And a significant increase in the number of teens who actually made suicidal plans. Although we can see an upward trend in the percent of teens who have attempted suicides, the data did not show a statistically significant increase. However, it should be acknowledged that the actual number of teens attempting suicides could be higher due to the associated stigma preventing an honest response on the survey. Of all the teens who were surveyed in 2017, it was seen that more girls attempted suicides than boys. Moreover, it was seen that more kids from 9th and 10th grades attempted suicides than that of kids from 11th and 12th grades. Furthermore, the data showed that more African Americans attempted suicides than that of any other race. Overall, this indicates that girls, younger teens, and African Americans are more vulnerable to attempt suicides. Our initial exploratory data analysis also found a funnel of despair. Of all the teens who were surveyed, 45% of the depressed teens had suicidal thoughts. 29% of the depressed teens made suicidal plans, and 16% attempted suicides. This means 16 out of 100 people who are undergoing depression are taking the extreme step towards attempting suicides. According to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, it was reported that in 2017 alone, nearly 6,000 teens have committed suicides, which is a significant number, and taking appropriate measures can definitely prevent these suicides. Given the seriousness of the issue, one might be wondering what are the common characteristics among these teens who are attempting suicides. So, a latent class analysis was performed to understand the same. From the analysis, it was seen that there was a high probability of depression in all the three classes. Moreover, two classes were characterized by high probability of teens who had been sexually assaulted and bullied respectively. No other distinguishing characteristics were found in the third class, which is a depressed class, which indicates the unknown causes of depression or which may require more complex analysis or more data. In all, 20% of the teens belong to sexually assaulted class and 40% each belong to bullied and depressed classes respectively. Furthermore, in profiling, it was seen that the sexually assaulted class had the highest percentage of teens attempting suicides multiple times, more than 4 times on average. Now, I would like to request Nitesh to continue with the further analysis.
Thank you, Aslesha. So far, we have understood that there are specific factors which push teenagers to the brink of suicide. However, not all the factors may be directly related to suicide. In order to find factors that were direct drivers of suicide, we used the PC algorithm to show the causal association between the variables. Here, we have a graph that shows variables that directly influence suicide attempts. Moreover, we found that some of these variables were co-occurring. PROC SURVEYLOGISTIC was used to quantify the importance of each direct driver as found by the PC algorithm from the previous slide. We found that depressed teens were 8 times more likely to attempt suicide. But we know that depression may not be a root cause in itself, but a symptom. Thus, we removed depression from our analysis and built our final model. We found that the most important variable was sexual assault. A teen who was sexually assaulted was nearly 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. Bullying was seen to be the second most important variable, where a teen who was bullied was nearly 4 times more likely to attempt suicide. Next, we found that teens who abuse narcotics such as cocaine, heroin, and other hard drugs were nearly 3.5 times more likely to attempt suicide. Finally, we found that teens who belong to sexual minorities were nearly twice as likely, and those who perceived themselves as obese were nearly 1.4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers. In summary, we have seen three distinct classes that were observed in the data, analyzed the cause-effect relationship between the variables, and built a model to quantify the effect of various factors on suicide attempts. We have also seen that not all adolescents who attempt suicides do it for similar reasons. There were three distinct classes observed. One was characterized by sexual assault, another by bullying, and lastly by depression. With this, we move on to our recommendations. The US government currently uses a multi-level framework to deal with suicide prevention. We believe that data and context can help improve existing policies and spend funds effectively. Having contemporary teen icons such as Billie Eilish talk about suicide prevention could be more effective than spending millions on generic mass media campaigns. Creating an atmosphere where teens voluntarily seek help takes time to achieve. We propose the creation of a data-driven application that uses analytics to identify teens that fall out of normal behavior patterns such as falling grades, missing classes, skipping lunch, among other things. This will enable the identification of high-risk teens for an early intervention. Teens who are sexually assaulted go down a rabbit hole where they suffer from depression, fail academically, abuse drugs, and attempt suicide multiple times, a clear cry for help. Creating a safe space at schools where they can seek help without fear for social stigma in conjunction with the aforementioned app can prevent these teens from going down the rabbit hole. There is a lot of focus laid on kids being bullied, but what about the bullies? Studies have shown that bullies themselves often suffer from domestic issues and misinformed notions. School programs that can identify and address the reason for these behavioral problems can be more effective than just plain punishments, which might make bullies more aggressive. Finally, depression is a serious issue that often gets swept under the rugs. From our analysis, we found that depressed teens were 8 times more likely to attempt suicide. Promoting the notion that depression is a disease, just like the flu, could make teens seek help sooner. We believe that additional data can help improve our understanding of suicidal behavior. Inclusion of socioeconomic data can help quantify the impact of wealth on suicide attempts. A kid who grows up in a rich neighborhood is probably better equipped to face suicidal thoughts than a kid who grows up in a poor suburb. Social acceptance data can help quantify the impact of people's perceptions on suicide attempts. An LGBTQ teen who goes to school in a liberal neighborhood, such as in coastal US, faces less social stigma than a teen who goes to school in a more conservative neighborhood. Knowing the sources of negative media vulnerable children are exposed to can help shut them down faster. For the rumored Blue Whale Challenge, it was alleged that VK.com, a Russian website, was a big source for suicide games. Some of the points we recommended may seem generic, yet why is it important to talk about them? Because data is the new weapon for policy change, the sickle of the modern day revolutionary. We know that many school systems are low on funding and may not be well equipped to prevent suicides. But when we can show how the lack of funding could kill children, we can hope that that will promote voters to strive for a data-driven policy change. Suicide doesn't take away the pain, it just gives it to someone else. We appreciate you for taking the time to listen to our presentation, and we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to us with any questions or feedback on the below email addresses. Thank you and stay safe.